So my very quick reactions to the Mortal Kombat, the Mortal One Kombat trailer, the reveal trailer. So, because I actually it is relevant in light of the recent gameplay that they've been showing off and all the reveals they had at the Summer Games Fest. So I have a mixed history, right? With this game, but also Mortal Kombat in general. There's a couple Mortal Kombat games I think are genuinely really fun and cool. And I don't really care for the NRS games. They don't fit my vibe. I think I've been on record multiple times saying I don't like the animations. It's old news by now, right? And I think I've even joked if the next one has good animations, maybe I'll be interested, right? So they show off this trailer, and if anyone doesn't know, if any context is needed, this is our actually just second timeline reset. Excuse me, that the Mortal Kombat series has had. The first one was in MK9 back in 2011. We're resetting everything, and now at the end of Mortal Kombat 11, they had this whole plot with like this time goddess named Chronica, and then Liu Kang like beat her, and then a time travel thing happened, and then Kerry Tagawa showed up as Shang Tsung again from the movie, and then Liu Kang got her crown and then became a god, and now he's Fire God Liu Kang, and he controls time and shit, and he's like the new Raiden, or Raiden as they specifically call him, just an MK. He's just been Raiden, even though Raiden is like a Japanese name. So he's like the new Raiden, basically, role, and he made a new universe to like, because the timeline fuckery, like the timeline's been technically been reset a bunch of times in the Mortal Kombat lore. So that's why everything's new, and it's a reboot-ish. It's like a soft reboot. Like some of the characters carry over, like Liu Kang, and there might be other ones, like maybe Shang Tsung. It's in some ways, it's like in-universe, the timeline's getting rebooted, but it's not like the whole series has been reset. And like, we gotta do all this over again. It's still like a sequel, and it's kind of weird in that way. But anyway, that's why this is Mortal One Kombat. I guess it worked for Battlefield. Right. So this trailer was kind of different for most NRS trailers in general. Well, specifically the Mortal Kombat ones, because all the Mortal Kombat trailers for the NRS era have all just been like Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting, or some kind of combat or gameplay or something like that. The Mick trailer was really different. It was very story focused. A lot of the... I kind of guessed that there was a lot of focus on like dualities of characters, or like rivals in some sense. There was Scorpion, Sub-Zero, obviously, Kitana and Melina. There was Liu Kang, and he's like with the new, technically like the great Kung Lao, like Kung Lao's ancestor essentially, like the original guy, and then Raiden. They're like together. They're not like working together or fighting together, but they're like together, I guess. They're in like a little group. So I'm like, okay, so it seems like there's some kind of implication of characters having connections to each other, and I wouldn't be surprised if that reflected in the gameplay somehow. So the elephant in the room is that I didn't like that trailer, and it's for a very specific reason. It's that I'm going to rant about dumb stuff right now. It's that, okay, so it's about the end of the trailer. It's about like the last 20% of the trailer when it goes. So the whole thing has been this like very blockbustery, very like Marvel movie style, epic, dramatic trailer build up. It looks like a movie trailer, right? For something like really epic. and serious. And then it transitions into the most over-the-top, insane gore that I've, like, ever seen. Like, horrific stuff. Now, I don't mind gore. There's a lot of stuff that I play or that I consume that has gore in it, and I don't mind it. I can think it's kind of fun sometimes. But, like, Mortal Kombat, specifically starting with, like, 11... honestly, probably since 10 at least. Sorry, X. Let me use the right pronouns. Mortal Kombat X has the gore. It's like a little too much for me. And I get, like, people will bring up, well, in the 90s, that was, like, really pushing the limits. Like, I know that, but I was born in 2002. That shit is not impressive to me anymore. So from my very subjective perspective, it's just a little much. And I found that, like, there is such an intent focus on it that it kind of starts to bore me. I remember booting up MKX and playing a little bit of Jason, who was, like, the one character I thought was pretty cool, gameplay-wise. And I was just fighting the CPU, and then I won, and I was like, oh, right. It's, you know, the finish him comes up. I'm like, oh, right. Let me do a fatality. I've never done a fatality in a Mortal Kombat game before. So I did it. I'm like, cool, I got it. And then I'm watching the animation, and I have this realization. It just dawns on me. I'm like, I really don't care about this. I really don't care about this. This is not interesting to me. And in my mind, it's like, okay, I know that the other Mortal Kombat games had very boundary-pushing gore for their time. And I understand that, and I get it, and I agree, right? The difference for me is that those games didn't take themselves so fucking seriously. Oh my god, it's such a tonal whiplash. It's such a tonal whiplash to be going through this, like, trailer lines, like, enemies and rivals and fate and choices and the world is changing. And then, like, the dumbest, most, like, ridiculous gore ever. Like, and it presented in such a way that's, like, a spectacle. Like, the gore is presented. This is the problem. The story takes itself, this is the hardest that's pushed the story in, like, a trailer before, right? And it's taking itself more seriously than ever. And the gore is taking itself less serious than ever in some sense, right? Because it's so insanely realistic. It's so brutal and graphic that, like, you're seeing, like, their bones crunch and they're like their goddamn, like, their eyes and shit, just and like them getting blended up, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like, you can't take it seriously in the sense that, like, not that I think it's, like, dumb, it's just, it's so extreme that it's how do I describe it? There's been this problem that I've seen people bring up with, like, Mortal Kombat story modes. Like MK11, I remember specifically, is like, you have these moments where they're trying to depict the characters as, like, real characters with things going on and emotions, and then it transitioned into a fight, and even a fight between, like, two family members that's just meant to be, like, a friendly spar, and they're, like, destroying each other's spinal columns and smashing their skulls in like with where it's, like, zooming in and giving you the X-ray thing, and you're like, holy, there's, like, a real weird disconnect between that. It's so ridiculous that, like, the gore is so insane. That's pushed to, like, such an extreme, and then the serious emotional stuff is also pushed to such an extreme that I feel like they just don't work at all together. It's so jarring to try and like care about these characters, and then like it has this incredible disconnect between the gameplay and what you're supposedly supposed to be getting from the story or the narrative elements. And I'm not going to be one of those guys who brings up ludonarrative dissonance to sound smart, because it's not. Ludonarrative dissonance requires the game to be concerned with like expressing its narrative themes through gameplay in the first place. And Mortal Kombat is not that. It's showing you a movie, and then it's sometimes interrupted with gameplay sequences. It is not trying to do that at all. It's not ludonarrative dissonance. It's just kind of dumb. It's just like a little stupid, that it takes itself so self-seriously. It's so self-serious, and then the I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. I'm sorry. And the violence is not. Like, I can't take it seriously, because if I took it seriously, if I took the gore seriously, it would be awful. It would be terrible. Imagine watching anything else. Imagine watching any other game or any other movie or TV show, and you saw something as insanely brutal as that happen to a character. People like, holy fuck, that's a serious like tone shift. You know, that's really setting. This is some serious fucked up shit. But you can't. You can't in this context. It's just ridiculous. I don't like the trailer. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's this disappointing thing where there's Mortal Kombat characters that I kind of like. And then I see the gameplay and I see the fatalities, and I remember that, like, oh, it feels kind of cheap. It feels like they're just puppets for, like, gore spectacle, and they're not real characters. That's what it feels like to me at the worst of times.